Chicago Light Brigade does this event each year, and we believe the victim of the violence should not just fall away from our city with all of us not noticing. We bear the witness not just to victims, but what causes the killings and the suffering of these Chicago families. We ask questions, we demand answers, we enlist partners. We offer support, and we work with this who demand all we do for just the communities. This past year, Chicago Light Brigade fought against the scourging of incarceration. We fought for as long as we fought for our local under-resourced public grade school. We trained young people in nonviolent direct action trainings, and we stood with our lights in support of more partners than I can easily name here. We believe all of these things are linked, and that we as a city have the wrong all this get from here to us. Policies, flawed thinking, and repeated mistakes. We also believe it's time to listen to the people of the Chicago, not just the connected or wealthy few, but also the every death of any kind of violence is a crisis, and we need to care that. It's a scream that we refuse to ignore. And also it's so important and essential to understand that what we are facing is just more than one indictment of individual police. We're facing a lot of police brutality. People of color facing everyday harassment, violence in the communities of color especially. So we need to focus on deep roots and transformation. Many might not seeing or noticing the amazing work is done by our communities every day throughout Chicago under the very, very difficult circumstances. But all these works are actually counting on the new mass movements. For all these reasons, for every life symbolized by these hundreds of lilies, and for the vision of each our speakers, we share their commitment and what they've been doing in their communities and throughout Chicago. So as we come together as a city and community this evening. So I want to welcome everybody here. Our first speaker is going to be Monica James. I'm very proud to present her.
What's your name? What's your name?
I apologize, I didn't mention my name. My name is Babur, B-A-B-U-R, and last name is Balos, B-A-L-O-S. I'm a Chicago Light Brigade organizer. I also organize with We Charge Genocide. I'm gonna go back to Monica James. She's an amazing, amazing human being. She represents Transformative Justice Law Project. She was also one of the delegates went to UN in Geneva this year. She also works with the Women's All Points Bulletin. So she's doing such amazing work all over the place. Please give her a warm welcome, and we invite her to speak here. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, wow, this is a beautiful crowd out here. So much love and resilience in this crowd. I just want you guys to acknowledge that you guys display so much resilience, the accountability that you guys are showing by continue to protest, continue to rally, continuing to join together and stand. And one of the greatest things about being accountable and coming together as a unified body is we always got to keep that strategic plan in mind, knowing what our strategic plan is when we come out here, knowing what it is that we're demanding, knowing what it is that we are asking for. And I know for me, one of the things that I want to see is I want to see more accountability, more accountabilities for the people's lives who are being taken. There seems to be no accountability, and that's what I want to see. I want to see people being held accountable. I do not promote prisons and jails and different things like that, but I do want to see people be accountable for their actions. And in being accountable for their actions, maybe we can start to transform laws and policies, transform the way that people see and view everyday people in ways that they never have before. Myself, I have been a victim of police violence And today I just want to say that I am a survivor of police violence because I refuse to let police violence harden me. I refuse to let police violence intimidate me and make me afraid. I'm gonna continue living my life out loud, and you guys gotta continue living loud and proud and celebrating the lives of those that we lost. And tonight, that's what we're here for. We're here to celebrate those that we lost. And so I like to ask you guys, I know it's cold out here, but throw some hands up, lift some voices, just send some shouts out for the people that we lost, y'all. Yeah. This is so amazing. Thank you all for having me here tonight, here on behalf of the Transformative Justice Law Project Center. One of our greatest goals is to just continue to build community, build healthy community. We don't want a community where we're standing segregated, we're viewing each other based upon sex, class, gender. We just want to view people as being beautiful people because we're all beautiful and resilient in our own ways. And I guess that's what we're displaying tonight is just how beautiful and resilient we are as one, not individually, but one as a body. We are all one body. And that's what we have tonight. So thank you guys so much for having me out here. And I just want to say, continue to stay strong, continue to believe, because there are people that are fighting to change these policies, to change the way that law enforcement interact with our communities. And if we continue to be accountable for our own actions, we don't need law enforcement controlling and patrolling in our communities. We can control ourselves. Thank you so much, guys, for having me.
Hey everyone, I'm Kelly Hayes and I'm with the Chicago Light Brigade and we charge genocide. And I just wanted to say a couple more words about what this imagery represents. So we have 432 white lilies here that are lit up on these strings. That's one for each person who died a violent death here in Chicago this year. Now, if you look in DNA Info or some of the other publications out there, you might not see that total. The reason is that Chicago, the city itself, does not list certain people on their annual total of homicides. For one thing, they don't list anyone who was killed by police. And we believe that as a first step towards addressing some of these issues, these things that make these losses inevitable in our society, is to begin to address what is invisibilized in this society. Lives taken by police matter. You can't sweep them under the rug and pretend that that violence didn't happen. Violence at the hands of the power structure perpetuates more death and more violence as much as anything in this system does. In fact, I believe that it guarantees more violence, which is why we'll see up here, we have a colored lantern for each person who was actually taken from us by police this year that we know of. And we've handed out some of those lanterns to all of you to symbolize people that we have lost. This is a difficult event to put together each year. Every year we create some prop, some image, one per person that was taken from us. And the process of creating this is very emotional. But this year, we had students in elementary schools, high schools, we had elderly community members. We had supporters as far away as Washington State folding these lilies and mailing them to us because people believe in what's happening in the streets right now. People believe that we are creating transformation in our communities and that change really is possible. It really is going to happen. And that is why we need to be here to lift up these names, to lift up these memories, to stand together, not simply to mourn, but to call out the fact that things are this way and that they don't have to be this way. In my opinion, the greatest violence of this system is the disarming of our imaginations. They want us to believe that they are necessary. Those cops want you to believe that without them we cannot be safe. Well, with them, are we safe? No! Is this what safety looks like? No! And that's why we're here, because we believe in something better, something beautiful. We know more than this is possible. So we're really grateful that you're here with us tonight to stand in this moment of transformation. And I'm very honored to introduce some more of our wonderful speakers. We have Ms. PANZY Edwards and Dorothy Holmes, who are going to say a few words about their personal experiences. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out. And I want to thank you all for having me. My name is PANZY Edwards. My son, Dakota Bright, was killed by a Chicago police officer November 8th, 2012. His violence and all violence is no good. Like,
Hi, I'm the mother of Ronald Johnson. He was murdered by Chicago police on October the 12th, 2014, and they still haven't gave me a police report and no autopsy, and they called it a homicide after the officer emptied his gun on him. He was shot in the back, the neck, the head, and the palm of his hands because he had his hands up in the air. Nobody deserves to die like that on the street of Chicago. Nobody. They shot him down like he was an animal and still didn't have the decency enough to come tell me that they killed him. Only way how I found out my son was dead, I got a phone call from my daughter told me that a little girl called her and told her they just had murdered him on 53rd and King Drive. When I made it to the scene, they gave me the runaround. They sent everybody to like 3 different locations. We all know the University of Chicago Hospital is not a trauma center, so why would y'all take him there? And when he died that Sunday, I couldn't identify his body to that Tuesday. And no one still came and told me nothing. Right now today, all I know, my son got killed by Chicago police October the 12th, and he was buried October the 27th. And they was pulling cars over at the funeral procession. When had they started doing that? They was treating us like we was the criminal, but they the biggest criminal. Now they saying that the officer was being investigated. How can the police investigate the police? It's impossible. That's all I have to say. And in remembrance of my son, we're doing a toy drive for him, so I will pass flyers out to you all at the end of the program. Thank y'all for coming out, supporting me and my family.
Thank you so much. So, about to introduce someone who was one part of the Geneva delegation from We Charge Genocide that traveled in November to speak to the UN Commission on Torture. Paige May.
All right, hey everyone, peace. So I'm gonna talk really briefly. I'm really honored to be speaking with you all. For folks who don't know, my name is Paige May. I'm with We Charge Genocide. And We Charge Genocide was started, it was catalyzed by the death of a young man named Dominique Franklin, who was murdered by the police this summer. And he was 23 years old and the CPD tased him. And out of that comes We Charge Genocide. And our name comes from another We Charge Genocide, which was a petition that was filed in 1951. And it's really cool that I get to talk to you all right now because that was filed specifically on this day. It is the 63rd anniversary of this original We Charge Genocide, and it is also my birthday. Yeah, so I like this day. And it's really hard for me to talk about feelings and things. I like to talk about ideas and books. So I wrote a letter to help me talk about where I'm at, because I think that's important. So this is a letter that I wrote to Damo. I never knew him. All right, so dear Damo, you died and we went to the UN. We told them how the police caught you, bound you with their handcuffs and tased you. We told them how they murdered you. And then they called it justice. No blacks allowed. Now your story has been covered around the world. You have inspired more people and more organizing. Your tragic, unnecessary, and cruel death is not forgotten, but neither is your life. And this is so important because often it's implied that our deaths as Black people mean a lot more than our lives and our living them. Where am I? But we do this for your life, Damo, and your right to live it. We do this for the living in order to survive our despair. This is a helpful reminder today on my birthday. We must remember to celebrate Black life and not just protest Black death. But I am getting overwhelmed, Damo, very overwhelmed. Our people are rotting away in prison cell cages. Our bodies are left to bleed out in alleys and in the streets. We are killed, we are raped, we are beaten, we are degraded, we are all but broken. And America is more worried about a few busted windows or not being able to shop on Black Friday. Since I moved to Chicago, I've added a new tradition to my birthday. I like to think about what I've learned, reflect on the big lessons of the year. This year, I think I came to understand what it means to be in the struggle. I used to think it was the daily grind of organizing. Lots of emails and meetings, pulling teeth to get folks in the room, reading and studying, and always working on too many projects, but with the constant feeling that you have no idea what you're doing or if it's working. But this year, I learned it's a lot harder than that. It's the struggle to wake up in the morning and the struggle to fall asleep at night, to move, to keep going, the increasing struggle to love and trust other people, the struggle to believe that we will win, to believe that you matter, the struggle to have hope or to feel anything but the pressure of deadlines and the stress of to-do lists. That's the worst part for me. The numbness I know comes from self-preservation, because I fear that if I let myself feel anything, the horror of it all will destroy me. I'll break and completely shatter. This year, I learned there is nothing natural or easy or instinctive about believing in a better world, about fighting for peace, about reimagining justice, rebuilding community, or transforming relationships. That is the struggle, to fight back and imagine better and carry onward, all while knowing that we were never meant to survive. I keep thinking about that George Jackson quote. To the slave, revolution is imperative. It is a love-inspired, conscious act of desperation. To me, this is we charge genocide. We are desperate, we are conscious, and we loved you, and we love each other. Out of your life and death, Damo, revolution is growing. We must mourn your death, we must celebrate your life, and we must struggle on. Rest in power, Damo. Rest in peace. I carry you with me.
Thank you, Paige, for those beautiful words. So I'm just helping out a little because Bavir has some baby duty to deal with. So next, I'm going to introduce you guys to an organizer who I've been very proud to stand with recently, someone who I think is doing amazing work that is going to help us build forward in this city. From BYP 100, Ms. CHARLENE CARRUTHERS.
Thank you. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Y'all, I can't hear you. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
When we say Black Lives Matter, it is a political declaration. It is a political demand. It is an assertion. It is not a suggestion. When 3 Black queer women sat down in the wake of George Zimmerman's non-guilty verdict in the killing of Trayvon Martin and came up with this idea of Black Lives Matters, and their names are Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi, and Patrice Cullors. If you don't know them, please look them up, because they birthed Black Lives Matter. Because we live currently in a world where it's very, very, very clear that the folks who are standing over there by the bikes and the yellow and the blue, they're really nice windbreakers, you know, really fancy. They are a part of a broader system that consistently dehumanizes us because of the people who we descend from and the people who we are and what we represent. And what we represent is resilience. And I don't mean just putting up with things and experiencing trauma over and over again. When I talk about resilience, and what I've learned is that resilience is what you do to bring you joy after and within experiencing trauma. It means spending time with your family. It means spending time with your pet. It means cooking. It means doing art. We are a people who come from struggle. We are a people who come from giving amazing contributions to this world. But as we look just at my feet, every single one of these paper flowers represents a life that was lost. A life that was lost. And this is the best that we can do to represent each life that was lost. Oftentimes we talk about people as numbers. We give people numbers when they become incarcerated. We give people numbers when they become students. We give people numbers for so many reasons. But the representation that we have here today, those are lives that were taken. Lives that were taken by a system that was never set up to actually serve us. It was a system that was set up to kill us, to sell us, to rape us, to commodify us, to harm us, to abuse us. And so I'm really appreciative of the opportunity to come today and join in collective action with all of you. And really appreciate the invitation to do so. Because right now, in America, if you are a black person, every 28 hours, a black person is killed as a result of police-state violence. And so it's not just police officers, but it also includes self-appointed vigilantes. It includes security officers. That's every 28 hours. Today, I had the privilege to go speak to a group of young people at a high school on 90th and Langley. And I asked them, I said, how many of you have lost someone to police violence? Half the room raised their hands. Half the room. So imagine looking at a room full of black children, young black adults, and half of them have lost someone due to police violence. What world do we live in where that is okay? We do this for our fallen. We also do this for people like Marissa Alexander. How many of you know who Marissa Alexander is? Marissa Alexander continues to have to stand before the state in a very violent situation for trying to protect herself and her children, in which she harmed no one. So yes, we do this for our fallen, and so that no more shall fall. And we need everyone in that work. At BYP 100, we specifically organize young black people. If you are a young black person living in Chicago or somewhere else in the country, please look us up, hit us up. We want to be in community with you. We need you. If you're not in that category, we still need you. We need you to not just stand in solidarity, but to stand in collective action. We need more than allyship. I want more than allyship. I want camaraderie. I want community. And I ask those things because I know that we are capable of doing those things. We can absolutely do it. When Ella Baker talked about what we needed to do in the face of these systems that are absolutely oppressive, she says that we need to take radical action. And radical action means grabbing at the root of the problem. Grabbing at the root. And so the root of the problem is not the young man with his sagging pants. It is not the young woman who is a sex worker. It is not the young person who decided that I'm not going to conform to any gender standard. It is not the person who was formerly incarcerated. It is not the person who did not attend college. It is a system. It is a system that we're up against that supports police violence. It supports intimate partner violence. It supports the closing of over 50 schools, which is also violence. That is what we're up against. And we have to grab at the root of that if we want to change anything. And so I was asked to sing something. I'm going to give y'all the caveat that I probably will not sound very great because I have a sore throat. But it's a song that comes, it's Ella Baker's song. And it goes, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. You might know that song? So I need y'all to sing it with me because I'm not going to sound that great. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it's won. Repeat it. Till it's won, until the killing of black men and black mothers' sons is as important as the killing of white men and white mothers' sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We So who's ready to not rest? Who is restless? I'm restless. And so I'm really, really excited to move forward with you all and to work with you all and to build with you all. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Charlene. So next we have a speaker who also comes to us from BYP 100, as well as We Charge Genocide, and who was also a delegate in Geneva in November. So also a poet you may have heard of, Malcolm London.
Today, somewhere in this city, a child may wake up and their father isn't gonna be there. Somewhere in this city, a niece has lost her auntie. Somewhere in this city, a mother will lose 1, 2, maybe 3 of her sons. And I look at these lights that have dimmed in this city, and it hurts. And that anyway, folks asked me to come up here, but I literally had no words. And what Paige said earlier was incredibly beautiful, but that is the struggle to live in a planet where every other day people who look like you will be lowered into a grave. And a while back I went to my girlfriend's, her father had passed, and he was like 80 years old. And he also had like 10 kids, and he was like, hella smooth, whatever. And he was a very attractive man when he was my age, much like myself. And it was sad, but it was also so beautiful that he got to make it to 80, that he got to make it until his hair turned gray. And folks who look like me oftentimes don't even have that opportunity to make it until you are old, to make it until you can have arthritis. That is a privilege. To make it until you can go to the doctor and buy a life alert. That is a privilege. In this city, and the first thing I saw when I got up here was like 20, 40 police officers at a peaceful vigil for people who we've lost. And it's so funny that we fight and we talk about injustice, and the moment somebody tweets about anything, there's 100 police ready to intimidate us. But in the neighborhoods where there's crime, in the neighborhoods they claim to be serving and protecting, when there is an instance of safety being breached, mostly by them, but when there is an instance of that, they're nowhere to be found. But the moment we come up here and speak out about the things that are happening, they're here. So I think what Kelly said is that they do not equal safety. They equal control, and they equal the ways in which to try to keep us divided and to keep us serving the state. Chicago is a particular place. Man. But I love this city. I love my nieces. and I love my nephews. And I hope y'all love people who look like me. And yeah, I continue to pray with my feet. And we are at a critical moment in history in which people are, it appears to be waking up and understanding that Black Lives Matter and all Black Lives matter. And not just black men who look like me and who the media shows get killed by police and the same old story of lynching, but that all people who look like me matter. Yeah. If y'all could just join me in saying, one love, 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 one love. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. So now we have someone else who is an organizer in this city with BYP 100 and also an artist, Mr. David Ellis.
Peace, y'all. My name is David Ellis. I won't be before you all long. I know it's freezing outside, so please just bear with me. I'm getting cold just looking at Malcolm. Somebody give him a coat. This piece is a piece I wrote about a week ago, and I'm dedicated to all the officers standing the guard behind us. You beat my mother. You raped my sister. My life don't matter to you. I'm just some nigga. You killed my brother for some loose squares, some Skittles and iced tea, for being black on New Year's Eve and for some swishers. You beat my mother. You raped my sister. My life don't matter to you. I'm just some nigga. You killed my brother for some loose squares, some Skittles and iced tea, for being black on New Year's Eve and for some swishers. They let these pigs off easy, they just killing us right on the spot. But locking up my sister just for shooting off a warning shot. Our babies got nowhere to run, they killing us for pellet guns, slaughtering our families, then they ask us why we mourn a lot. White folks critiquing us for looting, and they questioning our mind state. The cops just killed my brother, I can't greet you with no calm face. And these the same ruthless bastards fighting over laptops and flat screens and trampling each other on Black Friday. I feel for the mother who just lost her son for nada. Sit back and eat your donuts while she suffers from the trauma. You killed a fucking human, now I see you being honored. Conservative supporting you and backing you with dollars. No serve and protect, you just kill and neglect. You a coward, bigot prick, you ain't no human, you a monster. The cops in your department all epitome as mobsters. Locking up my people just so they can stretch their commas. And torturing our babies, you can hear the screams and hollers. Police my family neighborhood with tanks and helicopters. Shot him like an animal right after he surrendered. Defiling Mike Brown's character by posting thuggish pictures. To justify his murder, now they calling him a criminal. Devaluing his life to a fucking pack of swishers. The pain is running deep, immersed in anger and confusion. We begging just to live, we gotten used to these contusions. This is genocide. Don't tell me not to jump to conclusions when the police be catching bodies like they juggling humans. This is genocide. Don't tell me not to jump to conclusions when the police be catching bodies like they juggling humans. You beat my mother. You raped my sister. My life don't matter to you. I'm just some nigga. You killed my brother for some loose squares, some Skittles and iced tea, for being black on New Year's Eve and for some swishers. You beat my mother. You raped my sister. My life don't matter to you. I'm just some nigga. You killed my brother for some loose squares, some Skittles and iced tea, for being black. For being black. For being black on New Year's Eve and for some swishers. Black Lives Matter, y'all.
Thank you so much, David. So we're asking our light holders if we can maybe raise these words up for a little while, just to give the people in the back a chance to see. I know your arms are going to get tired. We won't ask you to do that for too terribly long, but we definitely want to make sure people coming by get to see this message. So have to quick crowd check. Is Veronica from Fearless Leading by Youth here? Okay, in that case, I am going to introduce to you an organizer who I have worked with repeatedly in this city, who I think is just a powerful speaker and a powerful feminist, and I have always been glad to stand with her. Miss Britt Schulte.
Everybody. I'm honored to be included in this incredible array of voices, voices which are consistently marginalized and struck from public record, voices that are not allowed on our mainstream media, voices that too often are silenced and taken from us before some of their fine art can be shared. I came just a little while ago, and there's a contingent of us here that were a part of a march and demonstration and speak out on behalf of sex workers internationally. And we can't have a conversation about violence and murder and under this system without talking about our brothers and sisters and others who are sex workers, who are systematically disenfranchised, systematically dehumanized and criminalized by this system, and are murdered. I have a sign here that has some of the names of those that are known to have been killed in this past year, and I'm going to leave it up here with the lights if that's okay. Again, these are only the folks that we know. I want to say a couple of things about why I think this is linked. We wanted to talk about the way in which violence impacts all of us, the way that this city, that this country, that this world perpetuates violence, rape culture, racism, trans misogyny, all of it. And it's because this world is allowed to devalue and dehumanize us, exploit us, take from us our labor, shove it back in our faces, and take our voices away. Sex workers are often ignored, made invisible, and not considered actual workers in this society. Therefore, our lives are pointless. Our lives are useless. People will employ our services and throw us away. And it doesn't matter how we end up in this work. What matters is that our work should be decriminalized, our voices and our labor should be respected and valued, and that we stand here in solidarity with the struggles that are being spoken about right now. Too often, our sisters of color, our trans sisters and brothers, our queer sisters and brothers, are beaten by the police, are forced to turn tricks on the street for police so they don't get murdered, so they don't get beaten, and too often, they still feel the hand of brutality, and they still end up silenced and murdered by those that are quote unquote serving and protecting us. And I see them with their backs to me right now, with their backs to all of us. And well, they're the ones behind us, I guess, are looking toward us. That's very respectful, thank you. But I can't help but think of them laughing, this kind of churlish attitude, this overtime that some of them will probably be going into over all of this. And I just say, fuck you. Like, I don't have more civilized language to use for the likes of you, and I just say a very resounding, very heartfelt, deep in my gut, fuck you. When you put that badge on, you are not one of us. You are a traitor to all of us. And I seriously invite you to look upon yourselves, but I know you won't. Because when you do, you'll take that badge off. And then I won't have to have this talk with you. Instead, I have words for all of you who stand with us, who are us, in solidarity, and because it's your lives on the line. Thank you for allowing me some words to bring up the struggle for sex workers' rights, for the decriminalization, and to remember those who have been silenced at the hands of our clients and at the hands of the pigs. Thank you, and keep fighting.
So before I move past what she would have been saying, I want to check one more time. Is Veronica from Fly here? Okay, I do just want to acknowledge that work. Jerica, you could start. Do want to acknowledge the work that Fly has been doing, that Veronica was going to speak to. I think it's very, very connected to what we're talking about here today. A group of young people on the South Side have been fighting for a trauma center. And they've been doing some amazing work, some very radical work in their community, and recently did get a victory that the University of Chicago, yes, is raising the age of who they will admit to the trauma center that is currently available. The victory is incomplete. The fight is not over. They will need our continued support because all lives matter in this equation. Black people are being left to die and will continue to be left to die under these conditions until a full-fledged trauma center that can serve all members of that community is available. So I want us to lift up that struggle and acknowledge that, and I'm sorry Veronica couldn't be here, but I think that we would definitely need to acknowledge the importance of that struggle. Thank you. So you'll see we have some young folks here who are moving these flowers now into the crowd. And that's because we're gonna have ourselves a moment of silence for those we've lost. And we want to actually physically lift up these lights while we do so. So if y'all could join us in holding on to these, and be mindful, of those little heavy battery packs on the end. But we thought it would be important to give a physical manifestation to what we're trying to express here. That we have lost these people, but we remember them, and we want to lift them up and honor them and move towards something better while lifting up the beauty that they brought to our lives and all that they were in this world to us. And while this event isn't specifically about what happened in Ferguson, the recent movement in the streets was definitely fueled from that place and from the powerful organizing that went on there with young Black folks who took the streets and have held them for hundreds of days now. So we are going to, in honor of them and what they have brought us in struggle, hold a 4.5-minute moment of silence. So if you all could have your candles out, if you could hold the flowers high, and we will begin now.